Good evening and welcome. My name is Tony Brewer, and along with Kyle Kloss and Joan Hawkins, I'm a co-producer of this, the Writers Guild Spoken Word series, sponsored by the Writers Guild at Bloomington. This month for May, we're observing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a fantastic lineup of performers this evening. We are sponsored in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, the Bloomington Arts Commission, and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association. The Writers Guild at Bloomington wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University and the city of Bloomington were built on indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. I had a couple of events I wanted to make you aware of. Third Sunday Write is currently a virtual place to find writing prompts and the company of other writers. Members visit a private Facebook page to respond to prompts that are posted monthly. You may then write and post anytime during the month and offer a response to the writing of others by sharing a readback line, that is a line from their piece in the comments. Third Sunday, let's see. Sorry about that. For more information or to join the group, contact Shauna Ritter at shauna747@gmail.com. And please include Third Sunday in your subject line. Also wanted to remind you that the next Writers Guild monthly business meeting will be Saturday, May 14th at 3 p.m. on Zoom. And the last Sunday poetry series and open mic will be on Sunday, May 29th at 11 a.m. at the Monroe Convention Center here in Bloomington at 302 South College Avenue, featuring Nancy Chen Long and Jessica Reed with an open mic to follow. All this information is available on our website or by liking or following us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and we even got a YouTube channel. So smash that subscribe button and ding the little bell so that you get updates on everything we are doing. You can also sign up for our newsletter by visiting our website, which is writersguildbloomington.com. Again, we are observing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a fantastic lineup. We've got Nancy Chen Long, J.L. Kato, Shreya Fadia, and first up, our musical guest this evening, Silvia Medrano-Edelstein. Sylvia was born in the Philippines, learned to become a chef in Hawaii, and is a master gardener in Atlanta. While she holds degrees in English, creative writing, and art history, it wasn't until the pandemic handed her unfettered time on a platter that she started writing poetry and songs daily, posting them on TikTok and Instagram. Since she is a musician, she accompanies her poetry with any number of instruments, from ukulele to dobro to the cajon beatbox. Please welcome Silvia Medrano-Edelstein.
Thank you, Tony. My first poem is called Staring Contest. Wide-eyed staring contest between the kid and the fish head. Step up, pull a number. Chicago's Fulton Market at the crack of dawn. A seafood amusement park with oysters and prawns. Squealing kids lift and drop Alaskan crabs with tongs near Maine lobsters in tanks, rubber bands on claws. Air bubbling upwards like oxygen pearls, dubiously alive for the romantic dinner world. Hold swordfish fencing masters lay intact on a bed of shaved ice, on guard, retract. Moonfish, sardines, and octopus too. Red snapper with sharp teeth to snap back at you. For dinner, sashimi grade tuna, the redder the better. Spanish mackerel on toast with 25-year balsamic vinegar. French bouillabaisse with vermouth and fisherman's cioppino. Need another bowl for empty shells, extra napkins, and vino. Mama knows her open ocean fish, coming in through the door. Wild caught is just a label to charge non-fishers more. Tuna bright red and mahi-mahi with dots. It's easy to smell the best fish on the block. They've just shouted Mama's number. It's time to step up. So that was Staring Contest. And just in time for dinner. I hope I didn't make anyone too hungry. So that was a poem about my father used to take me to the fish market, and I guess it did influence what I do. I'm a chef now today. This next poem is actually about my mother. It's called Machete Mama. It was inspired by my mother, who called me one day to tell me that she lost her favorite machete, which is very traumatic. Machete Mama. Mama with a machete, skirt hitched up past her knees, chopping away at a city jungle with Bruce Lee's expertise. Now she's moved into the city, to a bungalow in town, but still hits coconuts between the eyes and wears orchids in her crown. Still the tiger she ever was, though the machete is used for cooking. Coconut, ginger, and garlic too. It's steamy in her kitchen. She never dreams of island life. The pond was too small there. In the city, she grows a banana tree. She's made her garden there. So that was Machete Mama. And then one more poem for my set. It's called Yellow Pages Origami, and it's a tanka poem. Tissue paper crane, torn from the yellow pages. Oh, it flutters still. Street address and phone number. All these years in my wallet. Yellow Pages Origami. So thank you, Tony.
Thanks so much, Sylvia. We'll be hearing more from Sylvia a little later. Right now, we're going to have our round robin of readers. And first up will be J.L. Kato. John is a former newspaper copy editor whose poems have appeared in various publications. His book, Shadows Set in Concrete, was selected Best Volume of Poetry in 2010 by the Indiana Center for the Book. He lives in Beech Grove, Indiana. Please welcome J.L. Kato.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to begin with an old poem, and it serves as a warm-up poem, which is ironic since it's about winter. Winter, 3 a.m. Lamp outside my window, eyelids shut against the light, a penny whistle dream, pursed lips frozen in the night. Feel free to seduce me. Press your tongue against my cheek, interrupt my sleep talk, declarations of fleece and wool. Blanket me with your skin, permit the wind to sing. The fireplace is cold, ashes sifting on the grate. What smolders must flame, the frost must melt. Feel me. Reduce this iceberg on my shoulders, thaw and steam. What warmth we create, what warmth we bring. No longer old, who cares the lifeline's length, this scar across my palm. Falling snow. The cabin. This one is called Tsunami. Once, before I could walk, the sea rose up to seize me, but my grandfather instinctively grasped my ankle, his fingers wrapped around my children and my children's children. The poems I'm going to read tonight are, a lot of them are based on family tales and stories my mother used to tell me. I remember sometime during the 60s, I heard on the radio this strange sounding song, and my mother told me it was Japanese. And it turned out to be the only #1 Japanese language song that made the top of the Billboard list. And it was titled Sukiyaki, or Sukiyaki, as my mother would say. And I said, well, what do the lyrics mean? You know, because I wanted to know. I was getting hungry. And she laughed and said, no, it's just a silly love song. I took this silly love song and tried to rewrite or reinterpret the lyrics close to Japanese poetic forms. So I'm going to read Sukiyaki to you, translated into my version of what I think a Japanese form should be. And then I'll tell you what I titled it. I look up so tears won't fall. Remember a rain in spring, my lonely walk tonight. Through my tears, I count the stars. Remember a summer moon, my lonely walk tonight. Happiness soars above the clouds, sadness in the shadow of an owl. In my lonely walk tonight, I recall the autumn winds, eyes downcast so tears may fall. And I titled that Hot Dog with Mustard. Previously in Bloomington, I've read a lot of poems about my mother, so I'm going to read a couple that perhaps you have not heard. This is called My Mother Haunts My Dreams. Bananas befuddled my mother's tongue, the way she phonetically peeled that word. Bananas, she'd say. Don't eat before bed, they give bad dreams. I ignored her and the nightmares came. That's when, in a hallway of unlocked doors, I choose the room with the scowling Buddha who chased me until my heart stops. Last thing I hear before I wake up is a whisper in my ear, now burning. Just once I heard my mother say, "Banzai," no hesitation. I long to hear this benediction, to live 10,000 years. Instead, I dream of wandering endless rooms of harmless women. And this next one is called Miyoko's Ashes. What remains of relationships once fiery, but now cold? I hear my siblings are squabbling over my mother's cremains. They can't decide where or when to scatter them and who should be in charge. So they divide her up. My sister wants to take her ashes to a beach in St. Augustine, combining the trip with a visit to Disney World. I think Mom would enjoy the Magic Kingdom. Her nickname, after all, was Mickey. One brother yearns to drive his ashes, drop them in the bay near the Golden Gate, which Mom saw when she entered America. I want to tell him to release a blossom when he pours her ashes so he can see which way they flow. The other brother knows he will never touch the sea. He wants to harbor ashes in an urn on a masterpiece next to a knickknack, a hand-me-down keepsake from Kyoto. I think its presence might comfort Mom. This bickering is news, sad news to me, the son who shuns all clamorous ceremonies. I have no ashes to release. Instead, I keep my mother breathing in poems and memories. I would tell my siblings, if I could, in passing, that their mother once said the ocean feels cold, but she can find heat in the arms of drowned seamen, the embraces of muscular men. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, JL. Excuse me. Next, please welcome Nancy Chen Long. She is the author of Wider Than the Sky from Diode Editions in 2020, which was selected for the Diode Editions Book Award, and Light into Bodies from the University of Tampa Press in 2017, which won the Tampa Review Prize for Poetry. Her work has been supported by a National Endowment of the Arts Creative Writing Fellowship in Poetry and the Poetry Society of America Robert H. Winter Award. You'll find her recent work in Plowshares, Copper Nickel, the Southern Review, and elsewhere. She is a poetry reader for the literary journal Guest House and works at Indiana University in the Research Technologies Division. Please welcome Nancy Chen Long.
Thank you, Tony. I'm so glad to be here for the spoken word stage. I'd like to thank Hiromi Yoshida for inviting me to read, and of course to Tony and Kyle for hosting this reading series. This first poem that I'm going to read for you is not one that I've written. In honor of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, it's going to be a piece from a book titled The Pillow Book, which is a private journal of Sei Shogun, who was a lady-in-waiting to the Empress of Japan in the late 10th century. Her writings in this book read like a list of poems, which are, as the name suggests, poems made up of a list of things. And the entries in the Pillow Book have titles such as Adorable Things or Hateful Things, things that arouse a fond memory of the past, and splendid things. So the piece that I'm reading for you tonight is Things That Make One's Heart Beat Faster. Sparrows feeding their young. To pass a place where babies are playing. To sleep in a room where some fine incense has been burnt. To notice that one's elegant Chinese mirror has become a little cloudy. To see a gentleman stop his carriage before one's gate and instruct his attendants to announce his arrival. To wash one's hair and put on scented robes. Even if not a soul sees one, these preparations still produce an inner pleasure. It is night, and one is expecting a visitor. Suddenly, one is startled by the sound of raindrops, wind blowing against the shutters. The next two poems I'll be reading for you are from my first book, Light into Bodies. The first poem I'll be reading opens up the book, actually. It's the first poem in the book. It's about my mother. My mother was born in Taiwan, as was I, and my father was in the US Air Force. We spent the bulk of my first 6 years in the Far East, several of them on the Japanese island of Okinawa. And this is a memory of when we were living on military base housing there. It's called Lessons. Lessons. Every afternoon, the woman my father hired would push the eraser end of a yellow pencil into the mouth of my mother to teach my mother how to make a proper English sound. I would stand at the screen door of the Quonset hut, Okinawan summer sapphire sky above me, and I would twist the neck of the tiny green brontosaurus clutched in my hand, and I would watch. Blonde, bouffant, cotton candy hair piled high next to my mother's straight black braid, candy apple lips, frosted eyelids next to a plain topaz face. No, 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 and yet another press against the tongue. My mother, gagging, in her mouth a stick. This third poem of this set mixes my obsession with home with my obsession with dust. So what you might need to know is from the poem is humus is a part of the dirt that's decomposed vegetable matter and animal matter. And sundews and pitcher plants are both plants that you'll find in a swampy area like a bog, and both are carnivorous. River is a verb when home is a stopgap. I am home in a dust bowl. I plunge both of my hands in and sieve sand through my fingers, sifting for rock. Confucius, sitting at the kitchen table, sips gunpowder tea, tisk, tisk. He pats my hand like a father of philosophy. Time flows away like the water in a river, he says. He knows it's not the water, it's the dust that throws me. I once read, a river never rests. Or maybe it was when one's home is a river running dry, each moment is spent bleeding into the next. Whatever I've read has not helped. Now all of my time is spent sanding every rock until there is nothing left but dust. It's risky to run a river dry. The full moon might fit inside, and then where would you be? In a river bowl with a mouth full of moon dust. But Confucius does not judge me. He knows where the water pools, promises we'll visit someday. In my dreams, I make a home out of mud from a bog near the mouth of a river. I am rivered and succulent in my dreams, work the humus with my whole body. In my gardens, sundews and pitcher plants flourish, and dust, it is never an option. I have no need to hide. Thank you.
Wonderful poems. Thank you, Nancy. Our final reader in this round is Shreya Fadia. She is a Gujarati American writer and former lawyer, originally from Mumbai, India. She will graduate this May from the MFA program at Indiana University Bloomington, where she served as editor-in-chief of the Indiana Review. Her recent work explores liminality, class, and adolescence, often through a speculative lens. Her fiction and nonfiction have appeared or are forthcoming in Black Warrior Review, Cream City Review, Hobart, The Margins, and elsewhere. Please welcome Shreya Fadia.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you to the Bloomington Writers Guild for inviting me. The piece I'm going to read right now is an excerpt from Penny and the Rakshasi, which is a short story that I published in the Black Warrior Review just this past March. Poor Penny Prakash had been unhappy with her life for a long time. She lived with her brown parents and brown brother in a brown house 2 hours from Atlanta, the baby of her family with no looks or brains or talent of any sort to speak of, and the only Indian in her entire school until Sonam and Roshni Shukla came to town and took even that from her. She always considered herself sorely mistreated. But one fateful day, when she was in her 13th summer, Penny's luck changed, and she made a deal she couldn't resist with the monster who lived under her bed. It was all because the Shuklas, stupid Sonam and Roshni and their parents, moved down the street from the Prakashes. Penny's mother, Urmila, was so thrilled they were no longer the only Indians around that she just had to go inviting the Shuklas over for cha, as if they hadn't been perfectly content on their own for all those years before. What, were they going to invite just any old Indian over for tea, share their barley biscuits with every Tarun, Dhruv, and Hari that passed through town? Her father had to trek all the way to the Indian store outside Atlanta to buy those tiny little packets, and here her mother was, just emptying whole sleeves of them into the fancy Corningware like it was nothing, like the biscuits were only off-brand saltines from the corner grocery. But would anyone see reason? Did anyone ask Penny's opinion? No, of course not. We've never been able to have anyone over like this, Urmila said shortly before the hour of the Shukla's expected visit. Maybe we'll make a weekly custom of it. Wouldn't that be nice? Penny, her mother, and Penny's older brother were all in the kitchen. Vivek at the kitchen table, ostensibly studying for the GMAT, but in reality, probably writing a poem. Penny at the sink washing dishes, and Urmila busy at the table near Vivek, setting out far too many snacks. Bowls of chana chor garam, that gross jevdo made with cornflakes, chakri, shakarpara, and of course the aforementioned Parle-G biscuits. The last of these fanned out like a tiny deck of weird edible cards. Don't you think that's enough food? Penny asked as she watched Urmila open yet another dabbo and scoop gatia into a bowl. How much do you think they're planning to eat? Urmila, completely ignoring Penny, continued, I hear the older daughter is really talented at science. Watch, she'll turn out to be a doctor with a medical degree from one of those Hivies, Yale or Princeton or Harvard, or at least from Brown. She threw a significant look Vivek's way, but he was focused on the books spread out before him and did not appear to notice his mother's glance. 21 and almost a college senior, Vivek would be graduating soon, which apparently meant that he was on the market for a future wife. Penny didn't think Vivek had been apprised of that development yet, or that he would be particularly interested in looking, especially, though not only because he had a boyfriend back in Durham, a fact their parents still didn't know. Technically, Penny wasn't supposed to know about Jamal either, but she happened to have found out because, well, she'd been snooping, as any dutiful and self-respecting younger sister should. It's Ivy, gosh, mother, and Roshni doesn't have to be a doctor just because she's Indian, you know. Maybe she doesn't want to be a doctor. Maybe she wants to teach, or I don't know, go to art school or learn a trade. Poonam, stop wasting water. Turn the faucet down. For the love of Christ, mother, would you please stop calling me Poonam? I go by Penny now. I've told you a million times. Penny, Penny said, but she did as she was told, even though that meant the water slowed to barely a trickle. I'll call you Penny when you start calling me Mummy. Mum-me. Mother is for others, Urmila said, with an annoyingly pleased expression at her own groan-worthy joke. And what's this Christ-Brist business? We're Hindu. Why should you care for this Christ? Say for the love of Shiva or Ganesh if you say anything. Whatever, it's just an expression. Whatever, nothing, whatever yourself, Urmila said. How rude you're becoming. I bet Sonam doesn't speak to her mother like that. You could learn from her, you know. Taru tells me Sonam and Roshni both speak Shuddh Gujarati, 100% perfect. Meantime, you don't even know the difference between tu and tame. I wish the Shuklas would go back to where they came from, Penny mumbled, squeezing the sponge so hard that some dirty, soapy water squirted her in the eye. For a moment, it was like all the air had been sucked out of the room. The change was almost palpable. Penny looked up from the dishes to find her mother and Vivek, who apparently had been paying attention to their conversation, both staring at her with the same indignant expression. She resisted the urge to wipe away the foamy streak of soap suds slithering from her eye down to her cheek, inching perilously close to her mouth. Dude, Poonam, that's racist, Vivek said. Of course he would choose to interject only if he could get a barb in at Penny. How like him. His only contribution to the conversation until that point had been a grunt or two, which could have meant anything from, what an interesting point you've made, to, could you both keep it down? I'm working here. Or more likely, signifying his utter lack of interest in anything not directly concerning him. But Vivek could always be depended on to be totally worthless. I can't believe my own sister would say something so vile. I didn't mean that they should go back to India. They're from Edison, Penny protested. I mean, I wish they would go back to New Jersey. Oh, never mind. Why do I even bother? Are, can you believe this girl? Mila said, turning to Vivek. What's gotten into her? American teenagers, man. I think you should send her away to India so she can get back to her roots. That would teach her what's what, said Vivek, shaking his head. Penny knew her brother and mother would go on complaining about her forever, regardless of whether she was in the room. So, muttering under her breath and saying some things she was glad her mother couldn't hear, she turned off the tap and stormed away, not caring that half the dishes were still unwashed, not caring that her hands were still soapy and dripping all over the floor, not caring that she was probably proving Vivek's point through her admittedly bratty actions. In her room, she dried her hands on the towel she draped over her desk chair after her shower, and then belly flopped onto her bed, groaning loudly into her pillow. When she had gotten as much frustration out of her system as she could in this way, she sat up. Blech, she said aloud, spitting out a bit of lint and a stray down feather and brushing her tongue with a shirt sleeve, though that only made matters worse. It's generally not advisable to eat your bedding or your own clothing. Goodness, I thought by this age you'd have learned better, an unfamiliar voice said from somewhere near the foot of Penny's bed. Penny sprang back and nearly toppled onto the floor, flailing briefly and knocking the lamp off her nightstand, but managing to grab the headboard with her other hand just in time to regain her balance. What the, she said, more frightened than she had ever been in her life. It felt like her heart was thudding inside her mouth. Who's there? I'll stop there. Thank you.
That was great, Shreya. Thanks so much. Let's now have another musical interlude with some poems as well from Silvia Medrano-Edelstein. Sylvia?
Yes, I want to know what happens next too. So we'll have to have her come back. My first set, I mentioned a lot of food in my first set, so I am a chef. This poem is called Tinfoil Lunch, and it was about growing up in the Chicago area in a Catholic school. Tinfoil Lunch. Childhood lunches in a metal box. Home-cooked meals wrapped in a tin foil pouch. The fish and rice balls, artfully wrapped, bore little resemblance to the school's meal plan. It didn't take long and a few odd looks before the teachers kindly suggested to integrate the new family, maybe bring bologna and bread instead. And I have to say that growing up, my father used to make, typical immigrants. Both my parents worked very hard. My mom was the night nurse, so my dad made our lunches. And so he would make the bologna and bread, no mustard, no mayonnaise, because we didn't know about any of that. And it was horrible. So this next poem is called Velour Last Supper. And it's about my experience growing up and actually being ashamed of bringing friends over because we had moved to the suburbs and it was a very different experience. Velour Last Supper. On the family dining room wall hung a tapestry of velour depicting the Last Supper, a momentous meal. Loyal disciples gathered around our Lord, yet where the ultimate betrayal stole the scene. On the mantel, a bowl of food with a hard-boiled egg, offering for the deceased with a prayer for the dead. Too ashamed to invite friends over to see one's home, the ultimate betrayal of one's heritage. Velour Last Supper. And I'll just like to interject that when my father passed away and at the brunch after his funeral service, we had to keep the servers from taking away a plate. It's a Filipino tradition to have a bowl of food for the dead. So we had to keep the servers from taking away his plate of food. So my last poem for my round is called The Time I Met My Hero. So my life has taken many twists and turns, and this poem is about that. The time I met my hero. It's not every day you meet your heroes, the ones who hand you a menu when you get to a fork in the road. Earlier that year, I turned down a full-ride PhD in upstate New York with a coveted film studies degree. I'd driven across several state lines and then turned back around, slammed closed the door to a bright future. There was a boyfriend involved. Feeling depressed until a movie Eat, Drink, Man, Woman inspired me, I followed an unlikely dream. I flew to Hawaii to work with a world-class chef. Months later, for an international film fest, I'd taken off an entire week. And oh my God, director Ang Lee was standing freaking right in front of me. Oh, the fangirl in me squealed, "Say something. Oh my goodness, geez." He was chatting with film critic Roger Ebert, both of them from U of I, like me. I knew I would forever regret if I never introduced myself, so I summoned up what courage I had and said, "Excuse me, sir, Ang Lee, I'm a fan. Your movie Eat, Drink, Man, Woman forever changed my plans. I'm studying now to become a chef because of you, seeing food displayed as a universal truth. Now I direct my food like a movie, cinematically. That movie really did change my life. It meant so much to me. Meeting my hero and thanking him, the circle complete, inspires me to be that change that sparks others' dreams. It's not every day you meet your heroes, the ones who hand you a menu when you get to a fork in the road. Thank you.
That's great, Sylvia. Thanks so much. We're all starving now because of your food songs. Those are great. Let's return to our round robin readers, and first up is Nancy Chen Long.
Thank you, Tony. The three poems in this second set are from my second book, Wider Than the Sky, which was released during the week that we all went into lockdown for the pandemic. So the first poem is titled Reverberation. It was published in the Cincinnati Review. The poem mentions a tree called a yellow poplar, which is also known as a tulip poplar or a tulip tree, and it's the Indiana state tree. Reverberation. At home, working on a client's website, an archive of Yiddish memories, I look up in time to see a yellow poplar topple. Yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. The hummingbirds have arrived, like they do every April, flitting toward the lower branch of a weeping willow, to the only one of 5 feeders that remains. Year after year, even their offspring remember. The tree falls across a point where a creek branches into 2 streams. With my noise-canceling headphones on, all is silent as the 8-story poplar crashes in the morning light, branches at first quaking and then slowing to stock still. My husband cuts a cross-section of the poplar's trunk. "Look," he says, "20 years ago there was a fire, and that year there a drought." He points to the tree's rings, as if memories had been written on each circle. I remember the grade school lesson. If a tree falls, yet no one hears it, did it make a sound? Yesterday, I heard a lie. Less than 2 million Jews were lost during the Holocaust. I also heard a truth. The first American airstrike against Americans was in 1921, a 35-block area attacked and bombed, a black neighborhood in Tulsa. It's missing from our history books. Fewer and fewer of us remember fewer and fewer people that were killed. The waves of our collective memory ripple outward, slowly fading until we are left undisturbed, like the moss-covered water of a fetid pond. If 6 million people were killed in a genocide, if people were bombed by citizens of their own country, yet no one remembers, did it happen? The teacher says there is no such thing as sound. It's only compressed air. It's only if the airwaves encounter an ear. And yet even then, the ear doesn't hear. The brain does. I hear my mother singing, even though she's not here. The second poem is titled Umbra, which is the name of one of the shadows that gets cast during an eclipse. It's one that is the dark center of the eclipse shadow. This poem was first published in Valparaiso Review, and for those that are interested, it's in a poetic form called a sestina. Umbra. Swarms of newcomers invade the park. As the light fades into an odd blue hue, the boy stares upward, in his hand a fortune cookie. The scope of the sky doesn't matter when the noonday moon invites you to escape. A gaggle of befuddled geese escape to a moss-covered pond. Scooters park along a picket fence, bringing in more day trippers, impatient for an eclipse. The blue sunlight edges toward gray, but the sky is still bright. The father fidgets, his hands arguing with the camera. The boy hands his father the fortune. No one escapes alive. He pockets the fortune as he eyes the sky. In an old pickup truck, the mother arrives. Park the picnic basket there, the father points to a blue tarp weighted with limestone. Every daydream is a ready answer, she thinks, her day overrunning with dreams. Her right hand holds a blank book, while her left holds blue orchids. A turquoise-tinted hummingbird escapes detection, zipping toward her. The park floods with tourists, the way the sky floods with birds. Soon there will be no sky to see, a passerby whispers to the boy. Today is the boy's birthday, and the ballpark is where he'd rather be, trying his hand at magic. Once, the boy narrowly escaped disappearing into a crowd. Once, out of the blue, the sun was swallowed by the moon. A blue moon is not an abomination, and the sky is not the limit, says the mother to the son. Escape is in the mind, says the father to himself. The day inches along, people hand in hand, singing, in love with astronomy. Park rangers pass out glasses in the parking lot. Blue petals spill from the mother's hand. The father escapes into a daydream, while their son stares at the prophetic sky. So science has uncovered the brain's plasticity, how it changes over time and how memory changes over time when it's in the brain. And that's what the second poem is about, how mutable our memory is. It's titled Narrative is the Native Tongue of the Brain. It was first published in the Southern Review and was nominated for a 2020 Pushcart Prize. Narrative is the native tongue of the brain. If our life is what our thoughts make of it, if our brain does not stream memories, but rather reassembles them from fragments stored throughout the brain, if we don't remember an event, but we remember, instead, the last time we tried to remember it, if we fold in our friend's recollection that it was a jeweled ice blue January day when the car dove off the causeway into the lake, and his story supplants our memory of an Easter thunderstorm, such that we no longer remember the storm until we read of it years later in an old journal, being battered by the rain as we fumble to fix the broken windshield wiper that left veer into the lake to avoid the dark suggestion of a deer. The hair-raising tingle on our skin as lightning struck the shore. Then we must be mutable, mustn't we? Forever home, forever foreign, creating ourselves as we go. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Up next is Shreya Fadia. I'm hoping that this is going to be the conclusion, or at least part two. Shreya Fadia.
Thanks so much. I am going to pick up where I left off. So just as a reminder, Penny has gone up to her room and has just heard a strange voice. Relax, I won't hurt you. I'm harmless, the same voice said, stifling a yawn. Although the speaker was still not visible to Penny, she had the distinct impression that they were stretching as they spoke, luxuriating like a cat rousing from slumber. If I wanted to eat you, I would have done so absolutely ages ago. I've had plenty of opportunities. I've been living here under your bed for a long, long while now, biding my time for a moment just like this one. Penny should have screamed until someone came running. She should have tried to dart out of her room to the safety of her family's company downstairs. She should have thrown something at whoever or whatever it was that was speaking to her, a book or her alarm clock from the bedside table, anything at all. But she did none of those things. Instead, moving slowly, cautiously, she crawled forward toward the foot of her bed. Who are you? She asked, almost whispering the words. You can call me Rocky, the voice said. I was a woman once, and it was my name then. I will answer to it. What are you now? Penny said, creeping forward still. So many questions for so little in return. What do you mean you've been waiting for this moment? Penny said, now just inches from the edge of the mattress, hardly daring to breathe, the gray comforter beneath her clutched tight in both hands. Go on, Rocky said, her voice caressing, languorous, strangely alluring. Come closer. There now. Why don't you get a nice, long look at me? Penny couldn't help herself. It was like she'd lost all volition and her body was being propelled forward by some unseen force. But no, that wasn't the full story. Surely there was some part of her, somewhere deep down, that wanted to see, that wanted to know. And then she did see, and then she did know. It was an easy choice. Actually, it hadn't been a choice at all. It was a foregone conclusion that when the monster who had taken up residence under her bed offered Penny Prakash the deal of a lifetime, she would accept, and gladly. I can have anything in the world that I want? Really and truly? This isn't a trick? Have I steered you wrong yet? Well, I did only just meet you, Penny said. She was trying very hard not to look at Rocky directly, or to sit too close to the edge of the bed, or to breathe in the monsters, the Rakshasi's pungent, ferrous stench, but she was only partially succeeding at just one of those things. And she had a bad feeling about this, sort of nagging at her, almost, but not quite like an itch, prickling the back of her neck, persistent, uncomfortable. I don't think you've steered me anywhere yet. Right you are, my dear penniless one. I suppose you'll just have to trust me then. Have a little blind faith, Rocky said, pulling her dark, shadowy shape up from the floor so that her face, or the skull that passed for a face, was in line with Penny's. Do we have a deal? Just one small favor, a tiny thing. Really nothing at all, a mere pittance in exchange for the one thing you want most in the world. Penny felt a cold, fluttering touch on her chin, like a wisp of fabric brushing against it. The Rakshasi's hand was turning Penny's face so that Penny had no choice but to look right into those gleaming red eyes. That empty pit of a mouth was so close to Penny's own that she could feel the Rakshasi's breath, breathed it in so that Raki's breath was her own breath, and she nearly choked on the metallic, loamy taste of it. We have a deal. Poor Penny Patterson had been unhappy for most of her life. She lived with her white parents and white brother in a white house 2 hours from Atlanta. She had pale, sallow skin, lank hair the color of mouse fur, and dull gray eyes. The baby of her family, with no looks or brains or talent of any sort to speak of, she always considered herself sorely mistreated. But still, she knew she had a perfectly ordinary, all-American life. Or at least she would have had one if a lying fuck of a monster hadn't taken up residence inside of her. The sun glinted on the hood of Penny's car, the light gathering in a pool, blinding her. She lowered her sun visor and considered, but then thought better of honking again. It was, after all, still early in the morning, and people were probably only now waking up, settling down for breakfast or to take a shit, No use getting the neighbors all in a tizzy. Absently, she rubbed the tattoo on her left forearm through the wool of her sweater, her fingers on their own accord following the shape inked there, that tiny, perfect replica of the Rakshasi's face that she had carried with her for the past 5 years, etched onto her skin in blood red ever since the monster had climbed in through Penny's mouth, squeezed itself into her, become part of her. The memory of that afternoon was inscribed on Penny's body forever, no matter how hard she scrubbed, no matter how sharp the blade she used and how deep she dug. It was seemingly seared through all the layers of skin, even on the subcutaneous fat, probably on the bone itself, though Penny had given up before she got that far. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Shreya. Next, let's hear from J.L. Kato.
The first poem in this set is about growing up in Indiana as an immigrant. And one of the things that inspired this is talking to an employee at one of the state parks. I asked, how long does it take before an invasive plant becomes native? And she said, that's a good question. Indigenous. Peony roots plucked from Asian gardens refuse to surrender in Indiana clay. Purple stalks grunt, groan, extend themselves toward an April sky. By May, they explode, bursts of white and pink. In June, drowsy blossoms bow, bent by a westerly breeze. Delicate petals complete a chain. The sun that shines in Chiba heats fields of a German-speaking farmer in Churubusco. The sliver of moon that hangs over Kyoto casts light on a dashboard of a Polish-American trucker from Kosciuszko County. The second poem is about a well-known Japanese woman, but her name doesn't bring a lot of smiles to the music world. I'm talking about Yoko Ono, who I think has been unjustly blamed for the breakup with the Beatles simply because she was Japanese. Avant-garde performance. When they met, John paid Yoko 5 imaginary shillings to hammer an imaginary nail into an imaginary wall. Yoko, once chained to stone lions, is now bound to a man more famous than Jesus. One up across for John, with spikes in her wrist, accused of killing the music of holding hands. She folds a fragile crane. December wind. Yoko's mobile spins. She holds John to her breast. This third poem is titled Naiad. I remember teaching my daughter to float motionlessly in the pool. She sank that first time, and I lifted her back. I lifted her by supporting her back. Again, she said. Again, she said. Again, she said, again and again. And after a while, she mastered the dead man's float. Then the lap up and down the racing lane. Then the school's swim team. Meanwhile, my skill level never rose above treading water, bobbing my head for a few seconds at a time. She left me drifting in her wake, left me to float helplessly. Soon I will sink, and then she will forget or die, submerging her father's ghost. The last poem I want to read in this set is a benediction titled Japanese Pond. Sitting on a bench under a pine tree, breeze skips off the pond where koi beg for food beside a lily pad. Looking out, I realize I cannot see the contour of the universe. I write a poem in the heat of that day. Rippling water licks the rocks. Turtles gulp for air. Dragonfly hangs mid-flight. I cannot see the bottom of the water or this stream. Sitting on a bench, I write a poem under a pine tree in the heat of the day. Breeze skips off the pond, rippling water licks the rocks, where koi beg for food. Turtles gulp for air beside a lily pad. Dragonfly hangs mid-flight. Looking out, I realize I cannot see the bottom. I cannot see the contour of the water of the universe or this dream. Thank you.
Thanks, JL. Wonderful, as usual. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have our final rounds, kind of a lightning round, and then a final piece from Sylvia. And I am going to announce the order, and everyone is sort of doing a final piece, and I'll just announce the order, and everyone can just kind of go in that order, and Kyle will do the switching, and we'll just do that. And they'll come back and have some closing remarks. So the order will be Shreya Fadia, and then JL Kato, and then Nancy Chen Long, and then Sylvia will come back with a song. So first up, Shreya.
So I'm going to read a very short passage from my novel in progress, which is called Samsara, which is about largely focused on a woman who works as a server at a hotel. It was always the same, day in and day out. Wake up, inhale some coffee, leave for work, the screech of a subway train stopping, or else hot air as one barreled past, white fluorescence flickering overhead, then emerge zombie-like into the pre-dawn gloom. The city that never sleeps, still sleeping, orange halos in all the streetlights. Past the woman who lumbers Quasimodo-like with her bag full of empty cans, past street cleaners, past sanitation workers, street carts rolling into place, the city's mechanical underbelly clanking on. Get to work, faces, names she barely remembered, dark floorboards creaking underfoot, the kitchen already abuzz, always the witch's brew sounds of soup bubbling, the sizzle of something frying, the dishwasher's hard at work. Set the table, bust the table, fold the napkins, crumple up the napkins, crates full of clean highballs and wine glasses, trays full of dirty plates and half-eaten food, the ache of her back, the ache of her feet, the ache of her head that always started at 10, lasted until 1 when she scarfed down her lunch, the back alley, grimy with filth, full of rats, the burn of smoke in her lungs, a scrim of subway steam billowing up from below. In the evening, the screech of another subway train stopping, or else hot air as one barreled past, white fluorescence flickering overhead, then emerge zombie-like into the post-dusk gloom, the city that never sleeps, coming out of its stupor, orange halos on all the streetlights. Inhale a frozen dinner, collapse into bed, wake up, do it again. Thank you.
My poem is called Fearing the Dragon. It was the first time that physical racism affected me and my family. The first time I realized there was an Asian way of fighting, I was 8 years old. My American father left to pick up some cigarettes after promising to return soon. It was 3 in the morning when I heard his belches soak our beer-stained couch, his knee knocking ashtrays to our thin carpet. From my bed, I heard him demand breakfast. Mother slammed the skillet, broke 2 eggs while father mumbled about needing something else, something with legs. I imagined nubs of an unshaven chin nuzzling her white neck, her shrill no, then a sickly thud. I ran to the kitchen, nearly stepped on father's face, his shoulder indenting linoleum, yolk running down one sprawled leg, black coffee around his head. Mother, silent, cinched her robe. The next morning, her kitchen was clean, and sitting alone at the table, father winked at me, blowing smoke rings. A few days later, I watched him burn leaves in the yard before he walked away and never came back. In 8th grade, I leaped and kicked at plywood strips, pretended they were boards. Splinters forced me to limp for a week. It was the year my mother grounded me when I dropped to a B in social studies. You Japanese do better than American kids. They know study, run around stupid, play Bruce Lee. When I started high school, Mother and I would watch David Carradine kick white ass on TV. Race riots flared, and my mother warned me I'd be carved alive from knives pulled from afros, and my skinny yellow butt wouldn't survive another day. As predicted, a fist-raised, black-powering dude hailed his nearby neighbors to surround me, to teach me a lesson about messing with 3 mothers. They must have seen Carradine the night before, carefully removing his shoes. Walk away, one said. Leave this one alone. He knows Kung Fu.
And Nancy?
Oh, sorry. Okay. This is my this last poem was published in the Southern Review. It's part of my manuscript in progress. Some things that you might need to know: an Optimus Prime transformer is a small robot toy, and Morpho Pleiades, also called blue morpho, it's a tropical butterfly with a large wingspan, and its wings are blue on top and then brown underneath. Butterfly. Optimus Prime transformer in one hand. My son waves his other around and above our faces. I think he's brushing letters into air sand. What are you writing? I ask, glad that at 4 he wants to write. I'm swooshing away all the blue butterflies fluttering, he says, his R's still sounding more like W's at this age. How many are there? I ask. His fingers touch my eyelids. Like stars, Mama. Can't you see them? In 7th grade, I would reserve a special time to look at a collection of butterflies. I was drawn to Morpho Pleiades, its 6-inch iridescent blue wingspan. I learned much from that butterfly. To make sure part of you blends in. Give the impression that many eyes are watching. Disorient a predator through the use of bright color. The greatest lesson came from a film, a shower of Morpho Pleiades flitting among the foliage. Like Morse code, sky hues pulsed on and off with earth hues as their wings opened and closed. Then, needing to rest, they raised their wings and vanished from sight. Back in Indiana, I can't see many of the stars. Near as I am to the city, artificial light erases every other light. But here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I had spent the day with another kind of light, migrating monarch butterflies. Trees leafed with bright orange wings, I felt they might lift off at any moment. Monarch butterflies lay their eggs on milkweed, what some call an invasive species. Milkweed is poisonous, and so monarch butterflies are poisonous, but that doesn't help slow their disappearance. Climate change, toxins, dwindling habitat. In a few decades, my grandchildren will be able to see butterflies in flight only in films, only in the light of their imagination. Thank you.
For my last poem, I'm going to present a poem that's about the writing process. So I'm a singer-songwriter, but being a poet, I tend to write my lyrics first and then add a melody. I was involved in a writing group, and the prompt was dreams, and I realized that I hadn't had any dreams since the pandemic started because I had been writing so prolifically. So this one is called Do Oranges Dream in Color? When asked about my dream recall, a spider crawled across my desk. I questioned it in black and white, and to my heart's distress, the spider answered me in colored hues and listed lists instead. A dream inside a stream yard, bending like a willow. A tomcat dreams in red upon a royal pillow. The green freedom of a cockatiel, pretending yet to be an eagle spread upon a bed of quilted reverie. Do ant queens scream when boiling water defeats their colony? Do oranges dream in color? Do salmon doubt their epic swim beyond the rushing stream? And why is it you're a character in my every dream? I asked the talking spider, why is it I can never remember? This is what the spider said. Maybe, my dear, you write the dream instead. Thank you.
That was great, Sylvia. That was a great way to end it. Thanks so much. And that's going to do it for this May edition of the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series, observing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with our fantastic lineup this evening: Silvia Medrano-Edelstein, J.L. Kato, Shreya Fadia, and Nancy Chen Long. Thanks all of you for being here. Also, a special shout out to Hiromi Yoshida, who was a co-curator of the series and did a lot of work to help us line up this particular. She helps with all the shows, but she did a lot of work on this one, especially to help line everyone up. So, thank you all for being here. Please come back and join us next month on June 1st. More details on that lineup are forthcoming. Once again, my name is Tony Brewer, and along with Joan Hawkins and Kyle Kloss and Hiromi Yoshida, we are producers of this spoken word series produced by the Writers Guild at Bloomington. Thank you all for being here, and have a good evening.